Good morning,
Good
Dr.
morning.
Tan Cheng Bock. Very happy to have you, and welcome to Digital Narratives Asia. Your early childhood, we go back to how things started in school. Your loss of your dad and your ability to carry on in school.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about how
I think
those
that,
years.
I remember that very clearly. When I was age 16, my father passed away. Now he passed away because he had tuberculosis and his lungs were also damaged. But it was very devastating because he shared with me a lot of joy.
Right.
Although he's not educated, he will make it a point, to sit by my side when I'm studying. He will go and collect all these old newspapers, and he will mark out the things I should read. He said, "You must read because I cannot teach you," he told me. "So you must gain knowledge through the Straits Times editorial." So I forced myself to read the editorial. I half understand what I was saying, because it's quite deep, But when he died, I was actually lost, lah. So I was in two minds whether I should continue to study or shall I just go to work. But then my mother told me that my father, being a member of the Singapore Harbour Board Union, would be entitled to about some money, a gratuity fund from the union. So I went to the union. But I imagine you're 16 years old. You go to this union. My goodness, they're also huge guys, so big,
Right.
So got intimidated by them. But they're actually nice, but they're very intimidating. So I asked them, I come here to collect my father's gratuity fund. He's a member of the union. He said, no, you're not entitled to, because he didn't pay his subscriptions. So okay, I went back. I told my mom, I said, let me see dad's belongings. And going through his belongings, I found one receipt. And that receipt was the latest before he passed away. So to me, my simple thinking then was, this is valid. So I went to ask my uncle. My uncle said, yes, this is valid. So I went straight away to the union, and the union said, no, sorry, young man, this is not valid. He only paid for the last one, he didn't pay for the others. But at that point, I wasn't so sharp, But I went back, I was thinking, how can it be? You would not have given me a receipt, right? Unless I paid the full. So I went back again. So they said, no, the constitution has changed. Your father is no longer entitled to 28,000. You're only entitled to 14,000. So I went back to my uncle. My uncle said, very hard to explain to you, but it's going to be a rough ride to get this sum of money. So, as a young 16-year-old, I was quite gung-ho in a sense. I went to the neighborhood and knocked at every of my neighbor. I said, was there a constitutional change to cut it down from 28 to 14? Everybody threw me out, My father's friends all abandoned him also. So I was quite sad that the neighborhood actually didn't help me. So I said, I have to be on my own. So I went back to study. But then the time money is so hard to come by. Your mother is chasing you. You got to give tuition, and you tuition until I remember I almost failed my pre-medical school. But I went on now. So while everybody all enjoying, I was rushing from the union to the school, until I told my friend, I said, my classmate, another of my classmates, I said, I think I got to quit RI. But happened that my RI batch, quite a lot of chaps, their fathers are quite big shots. And one of them is, his father was a court judge. But I went to see the father. And the father was very kind. Justice Chua, Justice Chua. He said, no, you must go to Legal Aid Bureau. Legal Aid Bureau, because they will help me to draft the letter better. So I went to Legal Aid Bureau, they drafted for me. So now I got 3 places to run. First, I go to Legal Aid Bureau, who gave me such beautiful letters. I went to the union said, wait. So I got to go back to RI to study. I got to go to tuition, I said, I'm dying, So at the end of the day, I told Legal Aid Bureau. Now you must tell me why it's so difficult. His reply was, it's political. I said, what's so political? So I went back to the union. Union said no. Then I went and studied the union. The union, it belongs to the PAP. And the leader is Lee Kuan Yew. And Jamit Singh was the Secretary General there. So I put 2 and 2 together. How? I'm the type, I'm quite determined. I go and sit outside the Legal Aid Bureau until they say, sorry, no result. Okay, go back. Go to a union again. I tell you, it was the most difficult part of my life. I got to take care of my mom. I got to get the money. So I wrote books. I wrote 2 books. I only hope the PSLE people will forgive me.
Yeah.
Because I wrote how to pass PSLE.
Okay.
Geography and science. I borrowed it from my old teacher, Ratna Gopal. And I wrote the 2 books I sold. I got some money. So at least that could cushion some of the thing. But it was a little bit of pressure for me because my mother is always asking, why is it so difficult to get? But she doesn't understand. So one day, one morning, I saw the newspaper. There was a big political fight. And the PAP has split into Barisan Socialist and the PAP proper. I told my mom, I will get your dad's money back. So I went to Legal Aid Bureau. I said, I want my money. Please, can you help me? You know, the response quite friendly now, you know, quite good. I went to the union. Union also quite friendly now, you know. I said, when can I have my money? After a while, I got my money back and I got 14,000. But I tell you, it was very bad. But that changed my life. It made me grow up. It made me that you are your own man. Nobody's going to help you and nobody's going to care for you. You fight your own battle.
We move a bit ahead. You are now the village doctor. You've been helping the people every day as a practitioner in the medical field. Serving the people versus serving the nation. The decision to step out from just being a doctor to be a member of parliament to enter politics. Tell us a bit about that period of your life, the stories, and how were you thinking about those choices?
You see, medicine has always been my first love. Politics is a calling.
Okay.
Just like those priests you need. I feel it's a calling. But I was not enamored with the PAP. My concern was I want to be a doctor in a rural setting. I don't want to be just a person who treats cough and cold. I want to be challenged. I want to put myself in a situation where I feel that my help is really needed. I enjoyed the 10 or odd years of my life there. Because you felt that you are not only a doctor, you know, you are also a social worker. So I was quite happy there.
Okay.
But having said that, I had also a lot of people who approached me. And they were from the opposition. Because they said, Doc, you're so popular here. You should stand and fight the PAP. I said, why should I fight the PAP? He said, no, you see, the PAP threw you out when you were in national service. You had a bad spell. I had a very bad spell in national service. I fought them and I got out, I got rejected. Okay. And the government didn't give you a job. True, I was not given a job. I was banned. I was barred from all government departments. But when the opposition asked me to stand, I said no. Then when Chok Tong asked me whether I want to be, I said no. Then he said, Lee Kuan Yew want to see you. So I went to see Lee Kuan Yew. So Lee Kuan Yew was a very smart man, very clever. He looked at me, he said, you're a doctor? Yeah. You know, doctors are bad politicians. I said, I agree. Why? Because we have our own mind. We think for ourselves. So I was wondering why you want to get me again. I might be also become a problem for you. What for? But he made one statement that got me thinking. He said, I'm looking, he said, for a second generation of leaders. And I need good men, he said. And if you people don't come up, he said, I will take third graders to run this country. You give me no choice. So when I went there, I remembered my interview with them wasn't so cordial. Because when they asked me, I said, look, you all treated me badly when I was in national service. I sent so many letters to the Minister of Defense. You all just threw it into the waste paper basket. But you never, and you all actually made my life miserable. No, I was without a job. And my mother cried because they said, I'm a doctor, you cannot get a job. I said, I cannot. And I got a bond with the Ministry of Health, for 7 years, my bond. And they just won my bond. So I had to go out and work. And where do I go and work? I found nobody want to employ me, also all scared. So at the end, who employed me? Cheng Nanshin. And who is Cheng Nan, Dr. Cheng Nanshin? He's a Barisan socialist chap. So I landed myself again into deep waters by moving into the opposition camp, although I'm not an opposition member. So he wanted me to take over his clinic, but I said no. I want to go get a country practice. But being a politician, to me, is not a problem. Because when I went into politics, I was quite clear in my head what I want. I believe that I must look after this country. So while I play the community role as a doctor, I still want to take part in the development of the second phase of Singapore. So we took pay cuts. Anybody nowadays, I hear all those chaps take big pay cuts. You go in, you don't care about the pay cut. You know what was my pay, my allowance? $1,430 something a month. That was my pay, my allowance, And when I have to give up my clinic, I spent a fortune getting a doctor. And I calculated I had to pay $10,000 to that doctor to look after my practice. So don't talk about money, I always angry. You just come in, you want to serve, you serve. Or else get out. Don't lament, I lost so much money. This is what I feel. We must come in with a full force of wanting to serve, or get out, or don't come in. And don't cry because you lose this, you lose that. We lost, but we never worry. Because it's part of your life you created. It's a conscious decision to go in and do something for this country. So I'm quite proud when I went in, of course with the condition that I be allowed to speak my mind. Lee Kuan Yew also said, I'm not looking for yes men. That gave me the consolation. I still feel that the passion in anyone who wants to serve cannot be compromised. If you lack that passion and you just want to come and serve because you want to get something out of it, it will reveal soon. After a while, people can see through you, the kind of person you are. So you must have the passion, the integrity, and the honesty to do what you believe in. And you cannot, that's why sometimes you cannot compromise. I don't compromise on quite a lot of things. They say I'm so hard sometimes. But it's not a question of hard. I got to help to build a country where the value system can be passed on to my grandchildren. So if my grandchildren is not proud of the Akong, then I've lost. I've not done my fair share. Just like if the PAP is not strong enough, the value system don't really transcend, or after a while get aborted because of certain things, then we may not have done so well.
The NS story, tell us a little bit about it, but link it to how heavy and how tough was it because of what happened to make that decision to say yes to Lee Kuan Yew and Goh Chok Tong to enter politics.
After I graduated as a doctor, I received a letter to ask me to go do NS.
Right.
But there were 12 of us. My first impression was it was wrong. It doesn't tally with the Constitution's requirement. Because constitutions and NS all must go in. So anyway, I went to NS very reluctantly. I said, why you choose us 12? He said, we look at the records, you guys have got leadership qualities. But when I went there, my first question was asking them, I know you need doctors in the army.
Correct.
But Singaporeans also need doctors in the hospital. Show me your scheme. No scheme. I said, you allow me to write a scheme for you? I drafted the whole scheme for them with my friends. How to strike a balance between doctors going into army and doctors going into the national service. They rejected it lah. They said, this is cannot lah, you know. So what to do? So we went through the training, and we all trained very well. But it was the non-military side that we were always trying to get it correct. Because to me, it's a wrong.
Right.
And my philosophy, I cannot perpetuate a wrong. I must correct it. So if I believe in that philosophy, I must correct this wrong.
Yeah.
So we wrote letters and letters to all the ministers, to every fellow whom we know can help. All went to naught. Zero. Nothing came out of it. Until one day, we were being scolded by some of the students in all the most vulgar words. Then we all keep quiet. Until one of my friends, one of the doctors is equally vulgar, he shot back. Then we said, okay, we're going to put all of you into what is that? Camp or detention camp or something like that. But they all call it bluff. But the main crux was, they said, no, we're going to change. Now doctors will no longer be captain. Yes.
Really?
Really.
Okay.
All doctors will in future become second lieutenants. So I told them, this is again wrong. Then he said, why? I remember I told the commander, if I have not come into the army and having trained for this couple of weeks, and you give me second lieutenant, I probably accept. Because I don't know. But now you cannot. Because as I know, rank now is very important. And my rank will allow me to make certain decisions at the battlefield, you know, because of my rank.
Yes.
So I will not compromise. Captain or no deal. So quarrel lah. At the end of the day, again, want to send us to prison and all that. But they all call it bluff lah. At the end, they didn't. So one day we discovered that we were given a letter. And the letter was very clear, we're going to discharge all of you. So I look at it, my man said, hey, I said, this is a real screwed up move. The people who are planning this, no idea about national service, no idea about constitutional matters. I said, we accept. So he said, Doc, we accept. What are we going to do? Then the commander, I remember, he said, if you all sign on the dotted line, I never forget that, no, you will not get any job in the army, in the government service. Yeah. I said, so I told him, if I go to medical school, I spent 6 years in medical school, and you tell me that I will be lost when I leave this place, then all my training in the university are useless, I said. I'm sure I can fend for myself, I said. I signed. Everybody followed me, all signed. So all 12 went out of the army. It was a serious, it was a move which I made. I know I'm going to pay a price for it. And the price was when I went to apply for a job, all no job. Everybody no job. And we lost 6 good men who gave up their citizenship on the spot and went away. I persuaded them to stay. I said, no, don't go away. They said, no, we have no use. This country don't use. Yeah. I said, if you believe something is wrong, we got to fight it and stay and fight and don't go away. They all scolded me, you know, when I joined the PAP. They said, useless, you betray me, you know. I said, no, because if I cannot win outside, I'll win inside. I said, you know, I'll fight from within. And my philosophy is, if you are wrong, you stay and fight.
Right.
If you run, nobody fight. So I stayed. But they said, Doc, you stay, you suffer. But I said, why is suffering? It's nothing, man. This is a way of life, I always think.
So, your parliamentary life. Pragmatism versus principles. You
Yes.
know, right? You stood for principles, but you must have been accused that you're not being pragmatic. How do you juggle between pragmatism and principles?
Okay, let me tell you, it's very painful. I think the most traumatic event for me, I would say, was foreign talent.
Okay.
The foreign talent, that time, I was very unhappy. I agree with the foreign, we need good people to come to Singapore.
Right.
So when they asked me, I said, yes, I support the policy. But this is where it ends. Because I disagree with the manner in which you all are going about it. So I went to the papers and I gave some interview, and Lee Kuan Yew read about it. He was very angry. I think he was very angry. And to make matter worse, one day, at the height of it, I made one of my strongest political rallies. I said, for whatever this discussion is all about, we must think Singaporean first. But when I say the words think Singaporean first, everybody, like it's a bad word, you know. Like I've said something wrong, you know. Everybody look at me, all the front bench. You know, it's a very dangerous statement to make now. You frighten the foreigners away. So George Yeo stood up and said, you will frighten all the foreigners away. I said, wrong. You are frightening our Singaporeans away. You're making our Singaporeans look small. Why do you have to care so much for the foreigners? I'm not against foreigners, but you raise the pedestal so high and make our Singaporeans so low. I say I disagree. I continue. I still give interview on these type of things. Then one day I received a phone call from the press. He said, Doc, Lee Kuan Yew scolded you in public. I said, what did he scold me for? He said, you are wrong. I said, I'm wrong. And I said, if Singaporeans, you have to choose whether you believe Dr. Tan Cheng Bock or you believe me to see you through, you know, this country. Oh, I said, that's a very loaded statement. But then the press asked me how. I said, I cannot argue against a statement. But if you want to have a dialogue, then we can argue. But if you say that you have to choose between Tan Cheng Bock and him, it is a statement made by him. I cannot ask people, you choose me. No, I cannot. So I said, I leave it to that. If that is the decision he thinks that is, I take it, I don't. And we never talked after that. For a long time, we never talked. I don't dislike him. I still think he's a good man. I think without him, this country, we won't be where we are. But we have differences. But I'm prepared to discuss the differences. But doesn't mean that you hold all the ideas. You don't have the monopoly. I don't have the monopoly. If all of us want to have the monopoly of ideas, then this country will go to naught because there's no discussion, there's no debate. We just make statement. So to me, that is not my style.
Doc, your time with the feedback unit, people wanted a voice, a channel was created. Tell us a bit about that journey you went through and running the feedback unit. What were the challenges, dilemmas you grappled with?
They created the feedback unit after I think it was after 1984.
Correct.
When there was a swing of 12%.
Correct.
So I think we wanted to see how best we can reach down to the ground. So they created this feedback unit. Now the feedback unit, when they gave me the terms of reference, I must say I didn't truly follow that terms of reference. Because I've never been in the civil service. I don't care about this standard operating procedure. I said, hey, I'm from the private sector. I have no idea about your civil service how. If you want me to run, I run it my way, you know. The feedback unit was necessary at that time. But I think they were hoping that the material I give them will be like doctored in a way, in the sense that, you know, I would send them something very nice to read. You know. But it was the contrary. I say that if I send you the feedback, it must be the raw form. And I will tell you exactly what is the feelings of the ground and how issues are looked at by the ground, not by what you hope the ground would like to look at those issues. So I conducted a lot of sessions. Now in the sessions, I was trying to assess how people will debate in a forum and how people will hold dialogue sessions in a manner in which there is no anger, no personality involved and so on. And I come to the conclusion that we are not ready. We are not ready to have two parties talking. Why? Because somehow or other it will become very personal. The chap who loses the debate feels very like he's personal, you know. I still don't understand. No? I say, if you want to talk about British style of debate, you quarrel, you fight. You go out, you still shake hands, we still drink wine, we drink whiskey and happy. We don't worry. So that was what I wanted to try to develop during the feedback unit. Right. So that all Singaporeans can go there and talk. And I asked them, you can be free to talk. But every time they talk, this one don't quote me, don't this, they're like so scared, you know. I say, you speak. I say, don't worry. So they'll talk. Then after all this, I collate all this information. I'll send it to the various ministries. Right. But some of the ministers not very happy because the things I write in are never always pleasant. Sometimes they were not so pleasant. And I remember one minister one day, I don't know whether he spoke in jest or he said, Doc, any more feedback, any more worthwhile feedback to give me? I said, I take it as an insult. So from today, my unit will not give you any more feedback. Then, are you serious? I said, yeah, I'm serious. Because I spend hours telling my men to give you those feedback. Right. And I tell them no doctoring of feedback. Take it. If you don't like it, you don't deserve, I don't give you. I didn't give him. So the minister very angry, complained, I think, to go Chok Tong. Then Chok Tong said, he tell Chok Tong, tell him, you know, doc lah, you touch on his raw nerve, he don't care for you. So I didn't send him, you know. And he's one of my good friends also. I said, too bad. That after a while, then I give him back the feedback. So this is the way I think we must, how I manage it, because I want it to be authentic. I don't want it to be like something that, you know, to please you. So they asked me, what is wrong with your feedback unit? I said, I can see the wrong. The feedback unit, I can write beautiful language. All these scholars can write nice letters. How good. But there's one important element missing, I said. He said, what is it? The emotional element he explained to him is not, you don't realize. You read it in the written form. Right. You don't really feel for it. So I remember they asked me, what you do? You must go down to the ground. You must walk the ground. That's why a lot of ministerial walkabout. You see? I like to believe that was partly due to my telling them, you got to go down to the ground. Because you don't have the feel, you are talking like in the air, you know. You're not really, you don't know, you know. Many people accuse me of personalizing the feedback unit. I say, I don't apologize. If you think I personalize the feedback unit, I personalize it. Because I want to be close to them. I want them to know, I want them to feel comfortable when they come and talk to me. I don't want them to feel restricted. I want them to be constrained. I want them to come and tell this I disagree, this again. Then I know he's coming from his heart. He's not just trying to please me. So this is that's the feedback they tell me that you are too accommodating to them. It's not accommodating. Is you want to create a climate, not a climate of fear, you know. There's a very strong climate of fear at the ground level. Everybody's scared to talk. Yeah. Wow, don't quote me. I go to the government. All the taxi drivers talk to me. Hey, talk, you are MP. Die, man. I talk to you so much that the government will know I will have. I said, don't worry, like, just talk. So this climate of fear, we will have to try to overcome that. But it's difficult because the government has a hold in everything now.
Let's talk about that point when you've decided that instead of being part of the system, you wanted to be a leader outside of the system. Why? What happened? What were your thoughts? What made you step up and step out?
So you're referring to my presidential election. You see, after my political life, I thought, I want to relax. I want to go away. But then, as I said, Jurong Country Club, people call me. They ask me, Doc, hey, you are too relaxed, man. You're not doing anything. You're wasting your time playing golf and enjoying it. You better kind of do something for the nation. I said, what? Hey, presidential election coming. You should stand. But that was even quite some time now. So that actually gave me some thought. I said, maybe I can strengthen the system. You see, don't always think that the president is going to be antagonistic towards the system. That's where many people got the wrong idea. The president must be seen as somebody to strengthen the system. Even the PAP now is so strong. You maybe need a president to strengthen it, because they themselves cannot be a guardian of their own doing, because there be some flaws in some of the things, and some of the things can go wrong, and you need somebody to just say, hey, look, this is the way, it's better done this way.
Right.
You don't have to destroy the system. So then after that was GE.
Right.
So I went round at GE just to have a look, and I attended all the rallies and so on. Then also one point that caught my attention was the diversity,
Yeah.
I said, Singapore is so disunited now. I say, if the president can be a unifying figure, it will be good for the country. So then you have to establish yourself and hope that one day people will receive you as somebody who can gel everybody together. And that was one of my reasons why I thought, if I, with a little bit of support from the ground and so on, and if I can be president, well, and I can help to unify the country, I'll be most happy. I know the task is difficult.
Yes.
The diversity is so wide, I know it's very difficult. Then moreover, you think it over, you say, look, for 18 years, there was no election for a president. You ask yourself, is this good or not? We went to parliament to try to change the constitution,
Right.
so that the president is no longer what you call a ceremonial president, but becoming a custodial president. When a custodial, there's a lot of responsibility. You have to look after the finances, you got to look after the appointments of key personnel in the government. So I thought, you must have an election. You cannot have a walkover. If there is a walkover, it makes a mockery of what we have done in the past. Every time walkover. And how this walkover can be arranged? I put my men there straight away. Everybody's scared, PAP men are there already. So nobody there to put their name. Or some people just want to come and test them. No. So I said, no. You need an election.
Okay.
You need to see whether we can help the country to gel.
Right.
So that's where I decided.
So was this the point, your own clarity about what sort of society Singapore should be?
Yeah.
Please, tell us a bit more.
Yeah.
How were you thinking about
You see,
what kind of society?
I want a society like in Singapore, where people don't fear, don't be afraid to speak your mind, and the government in power will not create this climate of fear and make matters worse. But unfortunately, it has been pervading all the way down from Lee Kuan Yew's time. Now, during Lee Kuan Yew's era, you can understand why he has to control Singapore with an iron hand. He was dealing with a different problem, all these communists, communalists, and so on, which are real problems for him. So he has to instill fear in the people. In fact, I remembered I once spoke up in Parliament about people, about this taxi driver who feared after talking to me. And I said, yes, why? And I remember Lee Kuan Yew said, I have to. I think it's that people must live with a little bit of fear. No fear, everybody don't care. I said. So he's already thinking along those lines. But I think over the years we have to change, because society change through better education, better exposure, better media coverage. So all of you are so exposed all over the world, or you travel so much. So I think we want to have a much a balanced society where everybody can talk, laugh over jokes that may be not happy, teasing the government and so on. We must be able to laugh at ourselves.
I agree.
But everyone is so prim and proper, cannot say this, the jokes, cannot crack such jokes because they might hurt the government. So I do hope that the younger generation of leaders, they have gone overseas to study. They are like all of you, been exposed to them. I'm sure they will also have I do hope that they will be more, not so not so strict, and don't this clamor of fear must slowly
Subside.
subside.
Dr. Tan Cheng Bock, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.